Be kind and speak in a loving manner, encourage and motivate sentient beings. We haven't seen each other for 2 weeks at this Infinite Life Sutra seminar. Have you all paid attention to whether our words have become softer in the past 2 weeks? We use what we have learned immediately, which is the correspondence between understanding and practice. On the path of practice, the master leads you to the door. Practice depends on the individual, and Venerable Master Cheng is our common teacher, a very important and the most important condition for our practice. But how much this condition can help us depends on us. If we have 1% sincere respect, we will yield 1% benefits. If we have 10% sincere respect, we will yield 10% benefits. The Infinite Life Sutra also instructs us to be like a poor man finding a treasure. The Infinite Life Sutra was preached by the Buddha, and it is not easy to come across it. We also have our master who explained it to us. If we learn one sentence and uphold one sentence, our character will begin to change, especially our heart will change, becoming softer and more patient. Encourage and motivate sentient beings. You can't persuade someone once and then say, "Forget it, you misunderstood my good intentions," and even repaid with ingratitude. This means you don't have enough patience. In all these situations, we should follow the teachings of the saints, sages, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, follow the teachings of the scriptures, and not follow our own vexations and habituated tendencies. This is called cultivation. We must truly practice and work hard. We should not play around with Buddhism or treat it as entertainment. If we truly uphold the following sentence, we will not be playing around with Buddhism or treat it as entertainment. From the sutra, respect the 3 jewels and serve the teachers. Do not be hypocritical or flattering. Our master said that these 3 sentences are the key to whether we can achieve success in our studies. Buddhism is the way of a teacher. We should respect the 3 jewels and serve our teachers. The most important thing about this service is that, among all kinds of offerings, the Dharma offering is the best. We follow the teacher's teachings. This is the true offering. Our master points out these 3 sentences, and we should follow them. This is the harmony between teachers and students. Z refers to students. Students must have a sincere respect for teachers in order to benefit from them. Therefore, our master instructs us at the beginning of how to learn traditional culture. Only with the right mindset can we learn something. There is a term in Buddhism called Dharma instrument. Using instruments as a metaphor, we can receive the great Dharma of Tathagata and the teachings of our master. Do we have the right attitude to receive it in our hearts? This mentality has sincerity and respect, and it is also a pure mind. It is not for fame or profit. We should share the same aspiration as our teacher, for Buddhism and for all sentient beings. Nowadays, many people learn things, and think that they can make a lot of money after learning. If you use this kind of mentality, you will not be pure, and you will not learn the real things. Our master also often mentioned, it is difficult to find a good teacher, and it is even more difficult to find a good student. The way of a teacher is based on filial piety. This sentence is actually very important. For example, if a person cannot communicate honestly with his or her parents, and the communication is not very smooth, will this person be able to communicate well with the teacher? A person's behavior habits are cultivated in the family. Therefore, if we want to interact well with teachers, and get along well with friends, perhaps the source of our attitude and behavior, in dealing with the world, is how we get along with our parents. We can reflect on this from this perspective, because I have met a young man who is also very capable. If he goes out to develop in society, I think he will be valued. He is willing to follow the path of spreading the Dharma, and benefiting sentient beings throughout his life. It is not easy for him to have this intention, which comes from his vows in his past life. However, he does not communicate very smoothly with his parents. When we interact with each other, I feel that he is not very proactive in communicating and asking for advice. Therefore, Cheng also realized from this that the teacher's way is based on filial piety. Trust between teachers and students is very important. The teacher and student relationship must be based on trust. In fact, I feel that we tend to trust our own opinions, but not necessarily our teachers. From observing our master, I can see that he was really devoted to his students. The old monk wanted to teach his students without reservation, but how many students around him cherished him? After following for a while, the student believed his own opinion, the old monk is too cowardly. With this thought, would he continue to follow our master? He did not understand how the teacher practiced. He judged the teacher based on his own opinion. We may even think that the teacher is at the same level as us. You will judge the teacher with these worldly feelings and views. It is possible that the good teacher is using this opportunity to implement the sutras, but we still regard him as the same as ordinary people. You see that the old monk is practicing forbearance, but we use worldly views to say, too weak. The path that our master had walked is history for us, and we should learn from history. There is a poem that says, if the later generations mourn but do not learn from it, they will also make the later generations mourn the later generations. You see, if you leave our master, you will miss such a good teacher and opportunity. Good roots, blessings and conditions are indispensable to be born in the Pure Land. And good roots, blessings and conditions are also indispensable to receive precepts from a wise master. When we learn from our master, many situations will appear. Now our teacher has passed away. It is very likely that others will criticize and slander him, and you cannot judge right and wrong, and then you will be affected, and this affinity cannot be maintained. Good teachers are great causes and conditions. The most important aid on our path to Bodhi is the teacher we rely on. Once we rely on him and accept his teachings, we will establish correct understandings and views. Then we will be able to judge right from wrong in all situations and whether our behavior and actions are right. This is very crucial. Therefore, trust is a very important foundation. I feel that it is difficult to benefit from a good teacher with emotional attachment. Emotional attachment is love and hate. You are not very happy about what the good teacher did. Your emotions come up. But you don't look at the situation. The good teacher must have an attitude of practicing in accordance with the teachings of the scriptures. If you have doubts or disagreements in your heart, you can ask. If you keep them in your heart, they will ferment, and slowly, the condition will change. I also observed that some students use this psychological attachment to learn from good teachers. Our master had disciples competing for his favor. If the old monk treated a certain person better, and another person felt uncomfortable. This competition for favor does not just occur in the palace, but also in groups that this can happen. Our master reminded us, learning Buddhism is to let go of these worldly habits, not to change the object. In the past, people competed for favor in the workplace, and now this kind thing has also increased in the practice groups. It is very troublesome. If you follow a teacher now and he is partial to certain students, then don't follow him. You won't learn anything. The teacher must be selfless, and only then can he use the Dharma, apply Buddha teachings in his life. If the teacher is unhappy about something and is upset about it, don't bother following him. His mind is so narrow. Don't get attached to emotions. Wisdom life is not a joke. So teachers are very careful when choosing students. It takes the teacher 3 years to evaluate the student. I heard 2 versions, one is 3 years, and the other is 12 years. Take it seriously. Why? The time we spend together is very precious. So you see here, our master is advising you, if you have doubts about this teacher, leave him as soon as possible because the conditions are not met. Don't waste your own time, and don't waste the teacher's time. If you sincerely practice, there will be a response. The affinity between teacher and student cannot be forced. So our master emphasizes here, as long as the teacher talks about correct understandings and views, if you do not doubt and trust him, you will surpass him and will be better than the master. Here it is mentioned that, do not be hypocritical or flattering. If we are hypocritical, then we become two-faced, acting one way in front of the teacher and another way behind the teacher's back. Flattery is fawning. In fact, when we practice the way, we take the 3 refuges in Buddhism. Taking refuge is like a train ticket. Once you take refuge, the train ticket is in your hand until you reach your destination. The way is something that cannot be lost for even a moment. We take refuge in the 3 jewels of our self-nature. Our self-nature is awakening, righteousness, and purity. When we become hypocritical and flattering, our heart is no longer righteous and pure, and we lose our train ticket. Therefore, Master Oyi taught us that observing the mind is the key. This mind must be in accordance with the awakening, uprightness, and purity, and cannot be in accordance with delusion, evil, and defilement. If you try to please others, then you have a defiled mind. In fact, if we are flattering at the moment, our hearts will be uneasy. What are we seeking? Sometimes we have an inertia that we are not aware of. This is because we may develop certain habits in the process of growing up and working in society. Say nice things to the leaders and give them a lot of praise, but in fact, at that moment, your heart is uneasy. It may be caused by his upbringing. We heard from a man in his 50s who cried bitterly after watching the movie Warm Spring. Why? He remembered that when he was a child, his mother was joking with him. You can't joke with children casually. And he took it seriously. His mother sent him to a relative's house for a day. As a result, he felt that his mother didn't want him anymore, and he kept having a fear after returning home, my parents don't want me anymore. So he began to flatter his parents and said nice things to them. Later, when he was in his 50s, he reflected, when I went to school, I said nice things to the teachers. When I started working, I flattered my leaders unconsciously. In fact, this kind of heart is very tiring. Therefore, we should emulate Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, we observe whether our hearts are at ease. Therefore, we should be honest and sincere to our good teachers and friends, and have a heart that seeks the Tao. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to raise them for discussion. You can't say, if I ask this question, will the teacher be unhappy? If you ask a question and the teacher gets unhappy, then his temper is very bad. So why is your mind uneasy? You need to find out the reason and let go of the worries. The person who ties the bell has to be the person who unties it. We may have some uneasy mentality, which may be formed by some past encounters. Find the source of the worries and let go of them. The knot will be untied by yourself. The person who ties the bell has to be the person who unties it. Logically speaking, no one can enter our heart. Do you agree with this logic? You see, when Kalingaraja tore apart the body of Xantivadan, the immortal of forbearance, to shreds, could he control the immortal's heart? He could not. The immortal practiced forbearance, so he did not feel that Kalingaraja had hurt him. The immortal didn't say, I will take revenge. No. So no one can enter our hearts. Who is the one who hurts us? Who is the one who makes us upset? That is why the ancients left these words, the person who tied the bell must be the one to untie it. Therefore, whenever we think of something in the past, we seem to get emotional, it's because we keep that thing in our hearts. Originally there is nothing, so where can dust gather? We need to love ourselves. Our Buddha nature is originally pure, so why should we dwell on the past? The past is unattainable, so we need to let it go. We must especially have a deep belief in cause and effect. If we have a deep belief in cause and effect, you may feel very unhappy with someone, and you may immediately feel embarrassed, because you are angry about why he treats you like this. But if you have a deep belief in cause and effect, why did he do that to me instead of others? It must be that I was the first to wrong him, and he came to collect the debt from me in this life. Then you will not dwell on these things. I heard not long ago that a person lent money to a friend, but the friend didn't pay him back. He was so angry that he almost became depressed. Later, he went for hypnosis and saw that in his past life, he cheated his friend very badly. Everything has cause and effect. Everyone should hear the key point: believe deeply in cause and effect. Don't go for hypnosis. Listen carefully and hear the key point. There is no need to go for hypnosis, there must be cause and effect. Of course, if you are not reconciled and want to be hypnotized, I can't stop you. But you should be careful when you go for hypnosis. Many people now use hypnosis and start to do their own things without following the teachings of the Buddhist scriptures. Yes. There are many methods used by evil teachers now, so you should still stay calm. We have taken the 3 refuges. We have taken refuge in the Buddha, not in the outsiders. We have taken refuge in the Dharma. And we have taken refuge in the scriptures. We cannot get excited all of a sudden. He helped me see my past life. And you will listen to whatever he says. Then you will say, it was all because of this Master Cheng. I listened to his hypnosis. And that led to this connection. So I have to say this in advance, otherwise I didn't kill Bo Rin, but Bo Rin died because of me. Excerpt of Master Cheng 20250622, Part 1, Study and Sharing of the Sutra of Infinite Life.